you're eating those British mandarins, yeah, that are found all over
The little
Britain.
clementines, yeah. Yeah. Indeed. My question for the day is the longest game now and the shortest game now same as the present game now?
The longest game possible now, and the shortest game possible now, and the game that's now present. Yeah.
Gosh, is it frozen again?
No, you're moving again.
Ah, all right. Looks like we're we're stuck navigating that. At least, hopefully, it evens out.
Well, I'd say the answer to that must be Mandelbrot, no?
Indeed. Tell me how you're doing. Let's do a check in and then Generation X, yeah, and Beetle Sex.
Generation X and Beatlesex, yeah. Two obvious companions in a dialogue. I've had too much coffee this morning. Oh, you're frozen again. Whoop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
What
you're
the
frozen.
fuck?
Yeah, what the?
Uh,
Wonder what happens if we just put our cameras off. Let me put my cam. Or
yeah, we'll see if it works any better.
now, how do I put my cam off here? Camera off. All right. Does that? Let's see what happens.
So far, so good, unfortunately, but let's go with it for now. Tell me where you were at. You were just saying your first
There we
line
go.
of
That's
something.
good. If people are watching this, it's just like the left eye starts to have this aura around the iris speaking, and then when you talk up with the other eye, so very nice. Yeah, I've had too much coffee. I was at the doctor the other day who said you have high cholesterol. I said, what does that mean, high cholesterol? She said, it's high. So I had my son with me, and she, in front of him, just said, okay, you've got to change your diet, change your lifestyle. You have 3 months. So I was all right. So my son starts taking on my recovering plan or whatever it is. And that, yeah, just brings up a lot because my father and my uncle both had heart attacks around my age now. So
Wow.
I'm in that, oh, okay, I could have a heart attack and die. And that brings a lot. And then my dear boy is sharing more openly about his fears of dying. And I'm like, fuck, where's that coming from? So we're having this very gentle exploration of death without talking about it. So he will arrive at some point during this conversation in about maybe half an hour
Mm.
into the space, but he will go and do his thing. But so there's that, and then I'm writing, and I'm writing, and I've chosen to write without any support from LLMs or.
Yeah, good idea.
And I'm writing, and I'm finding it. Wow, God, this is messy. This is challenging. This is what's really wanting to be said. So I'm just fighting with it. Well, fighting with myself, getting it. Even if I do a page a day, it's fine. And then, yeah, as of next week, I have one student of English in the month, so I'll have 3 hours of work, and I've booked a flight to Greece in 2 weeks to go and see dear Rick, who's the painter of the stuff behind me, and his partner.
Yeah.
So that's great. A week of we're Skiathos is in Greece is the land of shadows. So we're going to do some shadow work and see what wants to emerge between us. And I'm exploring just my relationship with money and the consensus trans reality that
Mm.
exists. why I've ended up in the poster child of turbo capitalism and strong Catholicism and Jesuit belief. It's incredible. I mean, I couldn't have picked a more conformist, unimaginative, restrictive place to live, or to create a child to tether me here through choice. So that's my current now. Yeah.
Thank you, man. Wow. That's a lot of stuff going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Oh man. Um, I'll check in with some relates. Um, you might want to get all of your blood results and anything that this doctor did, if she did more, and actually run them through GPT and do a little bit of your own homework around the results and make sure you know her perspective, unless you know her really well and where she comes from as a doctor. You have to be really careful of Western doctors and analytics. So you might want to just double check what your actual number is, like where it falls on the spectrum, and like learn about cholesterol again and its things. But that doesn't change your family history, obviously, which will be more epigenetic anyway. It's never going to be about the cholesterol. It's more about whatever's in your family line that then manifest as like high cholesterol, blah blah blah. But it's so anyway. Maybe just check on that, just for your own like research, and because Western doctors, we've had so many issues with them from my past with psychiatry to Andrea with her breast cancer. Like, I like the diagnostics though, personally, because then you can get to do what you want with them. But at least you have like the mirror feedback of what your body is in terms of quantification. So, but anyway, yeah, man, that must be really scary. We have that another resonance. I have a fear or paranoia of dying of a heart attack myself. Like I don't have it in my family, so it's more like I can only think it's actually going to happen, and it's just a precognitive thing, or for some reason because of my breathing issues and all these other things, it's just the most symbolic thing for me because I'm so high strung, like my heart's going to explode. And plus, I love so much. So I actually have a fear. Even sometimes when I smoke weed and I get a little paranoid or whatever, I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And I even went so far, William, as to have this crazy like pinched nerve in my neck that sends a shock down my left arm all the time. So I
Mm.
have the thing where when they say when you have a shooting pain in your left arm, like that's a heart attack. Like I've even gotten so neurotic about it that I've manifested that. So like all the time I kind of sometimes have this sensation and I have to be like, oh, is that the one? Is this it? Like so I can kind of identify with like feeling like having that as a major kind of physical death kind of thing. And with your family history, yeah. And now with your son and everything. So yeah, that must be scary. And then you have to talk to him about it, man. Oh my God. It's all super, super deep. But it sounds cool that you're going to Greece, by the way. That sounds awesome. Like, I'll look forward to hearing about that when you get back. Obviously, the money piece is important to me too. So, um, yeah. And as far as me, I'm okay. I'm just in the process that I mentioned last time. Andrew and I'm still here with her, and I don't know if I told you. I probably wouldn't have told you last time. I may have to go back to New Jersey earlier than I expected because my dad broke his ankle. He's 84, so he's in a rehab place right now. But he really can't go back home by himself with my mom only. Like, so I'm hoping he actually stays in the rehab longer because it would be hard to help him out. He's got a cast and it can't touch the ground at the moment, and he's a pretty big guy and stuff. So, but anyway, the universe is maybe calling me back home to and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, I'm okay. I've been busy creatively with stuff and processing with Andrea and everything, but it's kind of status quo. So yeah, I'm good.
Mm. This universe thing, do you think it exists?
What's up?
The universe.
Yeah.
I just I just have a memory of my mentor, who in the book I'm calling John. um, sitting with me in the Pyrenees in a cafe, saying to me, "Right, let's have the discussion about the Big Bang, shall we?" So, because and then he sat there. We had 2 beers. He sat and looked at me and said, "Okay, so what was before the Big Bang?" And then we just sat there in silence. He said, "Exactly. Move on." And that was it. So he said, just forget wasting any energy on thinking about it. And it was funny because he'd had so many, before. I mean, he knew Fritjof Capra, and he knew all, he knew Willis Harman from Ions. He knew, he knew Deepak Chopra sent him his first ever book to say, "Should I print this?" He says, "Don't. It's appalling." And it was a bestseller. So he was in that world, and because I'm writing about him, that's very much present. And he said, "Well, there might not be a universe. If there is a universe, we have to also look at there might not be one at all." So I just remember having those kind of, your brain starts to shake.
Totally.
Which leads us on nicely to Generation X.
Yeah, what invoked that for you?
Well, you wrote something about it, and I forget what it was connected to, but the book Generation X by Douglas Copeland, who I think is still alive. He's a Canadian writer, artist. That book really affected me when I was 20, 21.
I don't think I actually read that book. Was any of the films at the time based on it? I don't know if I've actually read that book. Sorry,
No,
I just let you know. I don't.
don't
Now
think
that
it-
you say it,
yeah.
I don't think I've actually read it.
So it's just an amazing book about. It was set in the US at a certain time and generation, and just all the kind of Mick Jobs, as he called them, and in the sidelines, in the sort of the paragraphs at the side, he would have little notes, and it was just like it's like, that's my life. He just sort of, and I read everything he ever wrote, and he then ended up in a psych ward and checking himself in and out all the time, and he writes about that. Yeah, Douglas Copeland, very amazing mind, like open psych wards, mental health that he was in and out of.
Really?
Yeah, but that book, I just remember it. Generation X just stamped this. I am part of this. And then years later, it was 5 years ago, I remember this guy who Generation X just said, "Yeah, we are the lost generation between the boomers and now. We just carry so much of the in-between, the liminal generation that is sort of invisible, but we have a huge effect on what's emerging now." So yeah. Yeah. And then I just
That's really cool.
Yeah, the last bit, I always remember just Kurt Vonnegut was a hero of mine. I actually wrote to him. He didn't reply, but I wrote to him, and I remember his words saying, he made some speech at some university, and he said, "I am not letting any of you away with this Generation Y or Z crap. You'll start from the beginning like we all do, and your Generation A just begin from where you are." Such a great speech, and he's someone that carried so much honesty and truth about things. So yeah, Kurt Vonnegut. There we go.
Yeah, do you see my screen share, by the way?
Where would that be? In a private chat? In the
I don't even know.
Sorry, yeah, I do. Sorry, we can add it to the stage. There we are. Look.
Now I can see it. Yeah, it's nothing we have to look at. It could be in the background for a second while we get into the conversation, because I just had to look it up real quick. I was just curious.
If you look
I
at
wanted to say,
go ahead.
Because
it's that last bit, it says at the bottom why it matters. It coined the label Generation X. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Giving voice to a cohort oversimplified by marketers. So it kind of began. The characters work low-paying, unstimulating jobs and choose storytelling as a counter-cultural act, a way of reclaiming meaning in a world of corporate blandness and cultural saturation. That's 34 years ago. You know?
Yeah. I'm just gonna stop the share now. Let's see.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. It all it's all how I've been seeing it. So it's like as if as if I've read the book. I can guarantee it. Like, or how I've been feeling about it. Um, do you, do you know what? By the way, I meant to tell you before. If you can write a page a day, that's amazing. By the way, like it's not easy to have writing as that kind of discipline. So I would just uh, celebrate you for that, man. I wouldn't even call it fighting it. It's like if you can sit down, you've already conquered it. Like if you're able to write something every day, because the rest will flow.
Yeah, thank you. I think that just the actual work is being there rather than what is
Yeah.
actually coming out of me. And it's like even that mirror of like this morning I wrote about a game in 1994 in France with in the rain, and I'm just remembering, and I'm trying to be honest with the memory, like to say that's what I think happened. You know, like
Yeah.
we played with a 5 franc piece, which I believe I fantasize had Voltaire on one side and Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité on the other, and that we played in this. It was a very sensual rain. We're kind of young 20-somethings in the rain in France, living this sort of strange reality, and it really just brought me back to that when the weather or something intervenes to stop the machine in whatever way, and then people come together to create something. That's where, for me, the magic is.
Mm. I'm gonna take a slightest tangent just to say it because we'll get a transcript. Are we recording actually?
We are, yeah.
Cool. Um, what came up for me as a creative person after you said that would be, since I'm always thinking in movies and story living your studio and all that, I was like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we could recreate that scene for William, like on a set, like literally create like a street in France at night and or day, whatever, and bring the rain. Because you can never recreate the moment, obviously, but just as a set piece to go along with your book, like how I would call it the transmedium production and all that, that there's different like ontological designs for people to have the experience of your experience. You know, reading a book is one way, going to see a movie about you, meeting you in person, like you met the guy. There's all these different ways, right, to sort of get your transmission. And I was like, whoa, that would be amazing if we could take people's memories like that and recreate them, not to live in the past, but to celebrate whatever epicness was there in that container and see if it can be like um, regenerated, like reborn in a new context or something. Anyway, that would be fucking
Well,
awesome.
in response to that, I remember. So when I wrote Golden Spider in 2020, I remember you and I having an interaction where you said anything with gold in it is if it's got gold in the title, then it's exactly.
Yeah.
But I wrote Golden Spider 2020, and it flew out of me. It just came out, and Chat GPT said it's great. It's a sort of interdimensional mythic fantasy. I was like, wow, that's a new genre. And then it said, because then at the time there was a guy saying this was the pandemic, so there was this yearning for going back to Dungeons and Dragons type
Yeah.
experiences, and like if that pandemic went on for years, it'd be like, how can we meet online and create stories, and then other people draw the aspect. But this is before AI kicked in. But you know, how do we really give the sense and make it more alive, and then have a community of saying, well, what happens next? And it doesn't have to be what happens next. You know, the coin could be tossed and then it lands, and it's like something happens because of that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. And by the way, last bit before I get to Generation X, it's interesting our artistic resonance and all that, our philosophical similarities between us. But it's interesting because I read a bunch of Vonnegut's books, like in my 20s or 30s or something, and it's like what's left with me is only is this memory of like how good he is, and then there's the fact that I don't remember it, like any of the stories or plot lines. I've never read a lot about his life, but anytime I see quotes of his or pictures of him, I'm like, yeah, that dude's my like uncle. Like he's awesome. But at the same time, yeah, it's like I kind of love his work, but know very little about him or his stuff compared to maybe some of the other artists I might, be drawn to. So he's an interesting character in a way. Like every time someone reminds me of him, I'm like, yeah, I fucking love his writing, but I don't remember anything. I just know how good he is and that it impacted me somehow, but I have no memory, like in a way.
Yeah, I know, and yeah,
Very,
his thought out his
very.
five was just like the main thing was, and so it goes, and and
Hmm.
there's actually a YouTube of a group of students asking him when he made the film, or the film was made about that, asking him what it was like, and his just the way he is in response to the questions from the young people. He's just funny and
Uh,
real.
yeah,
Um,
I've got
and
to
he's
make a point to see that.
because he said the way that we, because in that book, and so it goes, was just the misery of war, and someone another one's dead, and another person's dead of his friends. So how do you represent that on film? And he says at the end they just basically someone dies and they cut to something else, and that was it. That was the phrase, and so it goes in cinematic form because they couldn't work out how to
Mm.
do it. But I think the in essence how we connect and share our stories. Yeah, I presume the more we chat, the more we will understand each other's way of perceiving the world.
In some ways, it's kind of the only thing that matters. Understanding how others perceive the world, so you can have empathy. If you can't have it on its own, like
Yeah, whether we have empathy as a baseline and then say I can try to empathize with your life, but there's no way I can get anywhere near it. So I often say that it's like for me, if I want to empathize with your life, I'd really have to sit down and spend 10, 15 minutes at least trying to imagine it, just to sort of think about it for snippets of what's happening in England, your family, Andrea. I don't. I'd have to make the effort to really empathise, which was actually something a friend of mine pointed me out to on a bench in London. He says you can't really empathise with people who are going through severe danger and trouble. You can't. Your nervous system can't enter it. So you say you empathise, but you've got no idea what that actually means. So I empathise with that comment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Hmm. In that regard, each generation, you know, is specifically kind of a generation because no other generation will be able to empathize with them in the same way, which is not an issue. It's interesting just to see how the generations therefore weave together rather than compete or anything like that. So, um, I definitely personally think because of even simple, less mystical things, I would say, even though it is and all that, but I've always thought, and it's because I'm in the position you're in, by the way, as a Generation Xer, like we're not all in the same category of like character and output and interest and passion. So it's never obviously I'm talking about Generation X as a whole, but I'm only representing the tiniest sliver of it really because I'm cutting edge and then I'm not really, so I'm just in like the artist category or something like that. But I think Generation X has the only thing that comes to mind for me is unfinished business. That's why I always say the revelation of Generation X is still to come, or the redemption of Generation X. Because from my point of view, based on that Copeland stuff, that a lot of us had to drop out. Like it was, we just weren't going to compromise. Like something in us saw what had happened at the 60s and 70s and all that, and then we grew up again. That's what Copeland's talking about, in the age of greed is good, and in America was all about the stock market and being a billionaire and advertising and all that marketing stuff, where basically America became a shopping mall and a fucking stock exchange. Like, so I feel like a lot of us got, that's why there's so much mental health and slacker, right? That was the slacker generation, all this stuff. And I think we fucking went underground. And yes, I use my language. It's like the mycelial and then occupy, 25 years later. Like I think we all, there's a subset of us that are not done yet. Like it took us longer to grow up. Like it took us longer to find ourselves than what was traditionally expected or assumed, and a lot of it's because of the abundance and the thing what we're heading to with AI. There was actually a lot more time and money and spaciousness for a middle class to evolve, which is historically true out of America and England too, post World War II, which preceded the 60s and all that stuff. So yeah, I think the X is significant. That's why it's X marks the spot. X is the missing factor, the X factor. The cross, we have a cross to bear. An X is a cross. It's also a plus symbol. So I think it's no mistake. And personally, I think like even the revenge of Generation X is fun to think about. But it's like, what happens when those of us that said no to selling our souls do what Bucky said, which is create something that obsoletes the old instead of fighting it? What if we figured that out, and this whole time we've been hard on ourselves, like you and me, and even the money thing, but really we fucking chose like fucking warriors to say no to what the world was offering us. And yes, it's painful and all that good stuff, but it's also grist for the mill, right? Like it also gives us the wisdom at age 45 to 60, which is not too old anymore. Like you're not ready for retirement. This is the prime of our lives, really, in many ways. So that's my spiel on Gen X, and I think it's true personally, energetically, like spiritually. And I think we're gonna be the ones that save the planet or don't save the planet in dramatic terms, because of we're the bridge between the old and the new, because we grew up without phones and we grew up without computers and we went outside to play with our friends, and because we're just as immersed in technology as your kid, even though yes, your kid is like 100 times more, yeah, because he was like literally born in the womb. But we have a very special place. It's the crossroads, another X. I think Generation X is the crossroads, and it's going to be where we choose to blow this planet up or not, like in a way, because we're the ones with the most money and actual talent. If you look at Gen X now, like, and all the transfer of wealth. So yeah,
Yeah, I think
I'm
yeah,
good. I'm complete.
yeah, I think the to respond to that, I think yeah, you had so the boomers basically. I don't fault the boomers for wanting after the war to just go, we want a different world, and then off they went. I mean, I just looked it up, but the global population in 1987 was only 5 billion, so kind of almost moving on double that now. So it's like fewer people, more internet, being outside, um, and that thing, as you say, growing up, and then if you were awake as a kid, seeing, hang on, this isn't right, don't want this, I don't want to play this game, and then yeah, responding to that as unhealthy as I did with drinking drugs and all the rest. And so um, I like the idea of the mycelium, that we had to go underground or find ways and survive. And then, as you say, now that the boomers are more and more dying, the transfer of wealth, I screwed that up in a way. I could be, if I had played the game and I hadn't sold my flat in 2001 to invest in some ridiculous project, then I'm sitting with a flat, all of that. Everything would be very different, but I didn't, because I took risks all the time. So yeah, yeah,
You're just like we're just like the same person. I literally said to someone the other day, like, I'm so angry with myself because I've seen so many now people in their 50s who are just as like like it's kind of like this inversion. Like they're super wealthy. They've got all the houses and the money in the bank. So when they have their final like spiritual breakdown, at least they don't have to be like broke doing it. And I said to Andrea, I'm still have this anger with that. Like, why couldn't I have done both? Like other people were able to basically go through their spiritual journey and make money. But for me, I was so overwhelmed with the spiritual journey. It's like I'm so angry with myself. Like if I could have just been a lawyer or something in my past life, right? Like you're saying, right? Like I'm so smart. It's not hard to win at that game. So in my heart, I know why actually. And at the end of the day, like you're right. Like we're gamblers, risk takers. We were all in on something else and we have to pay the consequences. However, that doesn't mean with our wisdom now or getting centered, again, maybe it took us a longer time to figure shit out, because most people that say they figured shit out have not figured shit out, in my opinion. They've basically become part of a machine and then they're happy go lucky. And I have that little bit of envy for them, right? That tiny spark of envy. Like I wish I didn't metacognate on shit. I wish I didn't care about weird shit or whatever it is, right? So
yeah.
yeah, I totally hear you. I totally hear you. I still go through that. I'm trying to let go of it, but it's not fully out of me. Just because I had the thought, I know it. Like I had the thought, like fuck.
Yeah, I have that regularly, and it can eat you up. So my friend in Greece said, just you got to slash that thought as soon as it comes near it. Stop, because in some ways I would not be doing what I'm doing now if all that hadn't happened. I wouldn't be going back to the game of now, going back to thinking, God, if I just can write this thing and get it out, and who knows, somebody somewhere might say, I get that vision. I'm happy to find ways to support it. And it's
You
like,
know what comes up for me, dude?
mm-hmm.
What I want to say is, I don't know if this is accurate, but like what came up for me if I was talking to myself, it's like this is the trade-off we make when we're the longing, going back to things we've shared, like when we're the longing itself, it sounds like we're taking a risk or a gamble, right? Or like doing unconventional. It's just to me like we're so connected to the longing itself that like filling the longing, which is kind of what we associate with the comforts and like consistency and safety and stuff, it's like there's a part of us that obviously craves this version of safety, but we always seem to give it up at every opportunity, if you know what I mean. And it's like somehow coming to the acceptance, it's because none of those, we already know that any set amount of money or consistency or certainty also will end up not serving this deeper thing in us or something. So I don't, and by the way, I don't think it doesn't mean we can't have money and stuff, because I'm like I've been getting better at that over the years, and you're more stable now, and whatever, we'll figure that out. We always do. It's just not the top priority, and I think that's what we've traded off in a way. Like we can't help ourselves, like, and
Yeah,
it's not a,
yeah,
it's our nature. It's because we know it's because it's our nature, and it's because a deeper thing, we know ourselves as nature, and nature doesn't earn a living. Look, like, we have to acknowledge, like, the thing that we're part of somehow that we didn't ask to be a part of, like this collective thing, it's not fucking very nice all the time. And it's like fair enough to criticize it, right? Like it's just that we need to like our friends used to say, criticize by creating now. Like don't be a victim. Like you said, your friend in the Pyrenees, like might not be able to explain it, but it still feels like something, right? Like we might not
yeah,
be able to solve it or come up with stories or systems or fiat currencies that solve all the problems, but something's still going on. It doesn't always feel good, and it seems like we're with other beings in that journey. So
yeah. Well,
it's for
I
real.
think I wrote something about that today. Reality is feeling like, for me, when, like, there's videos of John, Chris, my mentor. There's 5 videos. That's all I've got as a legacy. and they're brilliant in their odd way. But in one of them, he says, um, regarding Big Bang and all these things, he says, it just doesn't feel right. I don't care what they say. I don't care what brilliant math or brilliant anything they give at me. It doesn't feel right. And so that's what I go with, the feeling. And how do you go deeper into the feeling and then feel your way into a different truth? And so that's where I really cognitively struggle with people who I did a video this morning live about it, about people who create blueprints and frameworks, and it's fine. But my path seems to be to want to not do that, to say what is the emerging now and constantly come back to that. If I try to build anything, I'll just pull it down. And so that means I cannot build in that way. So it's like my son's mother saying, just give me all your money then. Give me everything and I'll deal with it because I love that stuff. And you can just whatever, and then you won't die in the street. Which is a very alive thought in me because of generational stuff. Like I'm sure a lot of people in the war and before that, their lives didn't even go as far as ours. They were lucky to get to 50, 60 and to be able to do what we do now. So, but that longing thing, I've written it down because that is the first line of the book I wrote, is that there was a man with a deep longing for something new to happen. So I want something to happen that everyone goes, wow, we did not expect that. That's a great plot twist. Humanity, brilliant. So that's what I want to see, that there's this plot twist for humanity where nobody saw that coming. And imagining into what that could be, that doesn't involve aliens. Maybe at least one. But it's like that kind of I just had this thing of suddenly people are sitting there having a coffee and then this being appears out of, and everyone goes, do you see that? And everyone goes, yeah, we all agree we see that. What is that? I don't know, but it's running at us. And then suddenly it disappears again. And then that people will just agree that never happened. This kind of strange interdimensional fuzziness. Anyway, that's just...
man. I love the strange interdimensional fuzziness. If I was gonna sum up the Syntony Times and this idea of this hyperstitious linguistic programming and superposition of fact and fiction and all that, like it would be that, like fuzzy space that that you're describing.
Yeah, Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear.
Exactly. I have to tell you quickly, like where I'm heading creatively. Like if I can manifest the actual, just the kind of opportunity, just that I would do it if I could. Like it's not my sense of creativity stopping me. So like where I'm heading with everything is like with the story living and the film and the video and all of our systems and like and my piece of the puzzle, like I'm gonna get to the point where I'm partnering with all all of like new paradigm people, and I want to put on a press conference called Disclosure. I just want to fucking like keep it all quiet and stuff, and make people think I'm actually, that there's some kind of alien thing, and then just this old joke, like for fun, like that this aliens are us. Like there's no aliens coming. It's just like we're the alien organism UFO. Here's the living here's the game of now. Like here's sacred synergetics, here's Skynet, and if y'all are interested, we're going to be over here building this, which billionaires are in, basically. Yeah. And like I'm going to actually pull it off. I don't know if it'll be successful. I'm not like saying that, or if people will watch it, but I will manifest a big event like in Los Angeles to do this. And then just be like, oh man, you fucking suckers.
Well,
Like
Yeah,
You
my
fucking
fantasy was
suckers.
I saw my fantasy was seeing this sort of neon billboard in Times Square or London or wherever, where I have a cigar and I turn around and I just say, I love it when a plan self-organizes. Um,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
kind of, it wasn't any of us individually. It was just sort of a commitment to, just following that path really. And who knows? I mean, I really don't know if it happens or it's already happened in some other dimension or it's happening now or it just sort of, because of whatever's happening in the world now
Well,
with the intensity of things, it suddenly, and with AI, we don't know anymore. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of my friend this morning told me this latest one about AI, which I love, is that there's been an article posted in a very, like, whether it's New York Times or something about, and it cites some books, which few of them don't even exist. So the whole thing was done by ChatGPT, and it's creating stuff that, so no one has any reference point of what is that true? Is that not? And I think that if we get to the point where everything on a screen is no longer trusted, how do I know I'm talking to Brett? And
no, it's
or
fucking brilliant. I've been seeing this. I've been seeing this for like 5 years now because I was into the tech and then I was into the movie making, which is more the reality illusion stuff. It's gonna be fucking awesome and insanity. And only people who are insane like us will be able to actually Sherpa and shepherd people through the eye of the needle because it is going to be totally insane. And like you're saying, to bring it back to Generation X, we're both advertisers. We're madmen as well as being what other things that we are. If we had $1 billion budget, right? Me and you alone, William, right? The world would be changed in 7 days. Why? Because we would buy those billboards, we would laser map projection what I said, and we'd organize a conference at a stadium to do what I said, right? It's guerrilla marketing. It's the epitome of Generation X coming back to life and using the system against itself with the artistry that we were enmeshed in, which was marketing, right? So fractal impact marketing, fractal impact that's my fucking, that is my hero's journey elixir to the younger people and to planet Earth. Like, here's what I'm coming back to the planetary Earth community with on my way back from the hero's journey. It's a different world view, not that's the medicine. Like, the different world view includes also heart and soul, right? For me anyway. So yeah, 100%. Like, this is how you would occupy capitalism, basically, or what some people call conscious capitalism, by putting capitalism out of business, because anything that's built to go out of business will go out of business on every level at every scale. So that's what I'm personally going to be responsible and known for, just like Satoshi for the Bitcoin. I'm going to be known for that. Not that I need to be known, just in terms of artistic intent, like more than ego. Like, that's my mission. So that's how I know if I've succeeded or not, in a sense, in the game of now, basically. um has the world worked for 100% of humanity, as Bucky said, in the shortest time possible through spontaneous cooperation, right? To bring it back to our first chat. So that's the new question. How does Generation X spontaneously cooperate?
well, I'm sure the internet will start sharing things about that because it's speeding up with me. When I look at anything on Facebook, I just like, suddenly I'm flooded with conversations about what I had this morning or yesterday. So now it will be the answering that question, Generation X all over the place. Um, and
Nice.
and then this sense of um, someone was talking about labeling the other day, and I know you've been through this journey. So, and I shared publicly that my doctor, when I was 19, he said to me and my mother, said, listen, I didn't label Graham as William Graham as schizophrenic because I was scared of doing that because that's his life over. So, that would be he said, that's my categorization if I was to be pushed, but I'm not that guy, so I'm not going to do it. And so he said, if you really want to be a writer and a creative, it's a very lonely profession. And I said, well, is it? Anyway, I remember that whole thing. And I'm like, of course you'd be schizophrenic if you've got to constantly perform and project and put this mask on just to survive for so long. And then behind it's this kid going, the fuck are you doing? This is painful. This is agony. And we can't be that guy because then we're told you're too odd. You're too weird. You shut up. Or you're over the top. I can't deal with you. It's too much. Go away. Therefore, learning to be 2 or 3 or 4 people at once. And so who was I talking to? So I was talking to somebody about this whole, the mental health categorization of all of these things, of ADHD, of all these things. It's like, it's just a movement towards what I believe, and I'm going to cite Alan Moore, the guy who does he wrote V for Vendetta, all these things, and many other things. He never liked V for Vendetta, actually. He kind of tried to bring out a lawsuit against it being shown. But his philosophy, he's got 20 points about the future, and he says one of them is that it'll be really fluid, and we don't really understand what that means, but it'll be fluid. So anyone trying to say, oh, that's what's happening, is like, well, yeah, it was yesterday. Now this is happening. And to be able to let go so much that you can just be in that will scare the shit out of most people. Because nothing is what it was before. And because that's like being on a psychedelic trip. You can't stop it. You have to let it take its journey.
Exactly. That's exactly what's about to happen.
So you try to control it with your mind, that's going to fight back against your mind. Yeah. Let go and just go, oh, that's happening. That's interesting.
%. That's a great example. Total clarity. That's what happens when you, basically, for the people out there into 2012 or physics, like that's what happens when you enter an event horizon and start slipping and sliding down into the singularity, basically deeper into the singularity, because you're already in the singularity once you cross the event horizon. So yeah, it's like throw your hands up, because there's no stopping that momentum you're talking about. But you said, it's being caught in it's kind of like the normal advice for surfers. Like when you go under, you have to just relax underwater and let it all work itself out and then come up for air. Whereas if you try to like fight it, you'll run out of breath. And that's kind of how I would see it. Like,
which is why I think really people training to breathe and be relaxed is going to be important for our nervous systems as we transform. That's what I think. And also that there's a sense of, what was it? I had it a second ago. Yeah, I think there's I keep coming back to this image of, was it 2018? I think it was 2018 when there was this enormous snowstorm that came across from Russia, I think, and the whole of the UK for 3 or 4 days was maybe 8 to 10 feet, and it was incredible. Everything stopped, and I was there. I remember being at the airport, and I remember everything stopped. Every flight was cancelled, and then everyone's just looking at each other. And then this young woman stood up and started singing. Great, and she's started talking to her, this, that, and there was a guy Jamaican guy trying to drive a bus into town. People have to get to but everything, and it was so quick. People left that way of perceiving into another way of perceiving, and everybody was talking to everybody else, helping each other out. It was very quick. And then as soon as the snow melted, back to normal, and people felt relieved. It's like, wow, thank you for that. Was great for a few days, but I couldn't do that all the time. I remember running down the street. I remember running down the street at 10 p.m. because a woman said to me, "Come and get me, come for me." And I just remember running down the street in the snow in Glasgow, and this guy stopping in his car full of these, I think they were kind of Africans, saying, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm trying to get to this girl in Shawlands. It's like, I can't get there." And he goes, "We get in, we'll drive you." So they drove me sliding around. Just this whole ridiculous scene, because the system had shut down and nothing was. So all those who were creative and playing in it and feeling the same vibe just went with it. And then the snow melted and everyone actually felt reluctantly relieved that the system that they knew was back in place and there's some kind of structure.
That's powerful.
So if that happens soon, it's like, can we have this sort of slow breathing so that it comes around in a very gentle way rather than all at once? But then who's saying that? Is that the fear in me? Is that the kind of the physical body going, well, you know, we might all just transform into light and the earth transforms and we're all part of a new something we can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Beetle sex. That's a non-sequitur. if I ever heard one. Yeah.
No, I coined it. I coined a new term in my Substack called obliquous sequitur, which means all sequiturs are connected somehow.
Okay.
That was brilliant. I'm really glad that our eyeballs are talking rather than our faces, because I think we should be putting this one out.
Yeah, that's my son just arrived at the door. Give me a second. It's open. Hello. Is that possible? You're in France. Put that behind you. You said it's not. That's great. Just come in. I'm on the phone.
One moment. I need to give you something. Can you
I can't eat that. It's fried.
Oh.
That's for you.
Thank you.
This is being recorded, so if you say anything you choose to say will be, you know.
Hello.
Hello. That's good enough. My doctor arrived. Are you there? What are you doing? Oh, aye. So my guess is that Brett's gone for a cup of tea or has put it on mute. What? Yeah, that's a good idea. If anyone's listening, this is just a temporary intermission. Please do some, well, the invitation is to do some conscious breathing. This will last as long as it lasts. The pause, I mean.